Hello and welcome to MK True Crime. I'm Mark Eiglarsh, and this is the very first episode ever. The first one. This is the newest MK Media podcast offering. We're going to focus on all the big cases, the ones you want to talk about, the big high-profile legal and true crime stories that we know that you care about. Now, joining me today, which gets me giddy. I don't say that just to fake enthusiasm. I am excited to be joined by two of the A-list top-notch attorneys in the country. And that's Mark Geragos and Jana Spilber. Welcome to you both. Let me just give a brief bio. This guy, Geragos, he's had a couple clients that you may or may not have heard of. This guy, what was his name? Oh yeah, Michael Jackson, Diddy, those brothers they call Menendez, right? Maybe you've heard of them. And also Jana Spilber, who also champions on behalf of her client. She's zealous, she's tremendous, she's a veteran attorney, and she's got her own firm, the Jana Spilber Law Firm. Welcome to you both.
Hey, Mark. Wait, should I call you Mark E so that we can distinguish between us? Jana, how are you?
We can do that. It's a little Mark sandwich, if you will. We got Spilber in the middle and
Mark
two Marks
G.
on the other side. Yeah, very exciting. So apparently, the producers have put together something that I have not seen yet, because we all have been on Megyn Kelly's podcast and Fox News for decades. And apparently they put together some kind of montage. So this is how we got here. Let's take a look right now.
Look who's here. Look who's actually in the studio. Mark Eiglarsh. She was all set and ready to argue.
Megyn Kelly is touching me. This is wonderful.
First, they have to find that there were aggravating factors. And if you ask me, Megyn, there are three aggravating factors in this. First, the poor victim was naked in the shower, stabbed 27 times. That wasn't good enough. Let's put 2 bullet holes in his face. To me, that's aggravating.
I'm going to cross-examine you on your the
Poop
foundation for you to be a poopologist.
You know what? I'm going to get my son Thatcher out here, and he will spend all day discussing poop with you.
Really focus on the chicken, because it is not the idea. It is the implementation of the idea, and that implementation that an animal could pick a winning football team as well as a human. It's the exact same thing. It's even the same animal. That is a clear violation of the United States constitutional copyright law.
They would be suing for
Not going to
defamation.
go anywhere.
They
Wait,
publicly
Megyn, you know what?
humiliated her.
Megyn, hold on. There's something wrong with my earpiece. I can't hear. Perhaps, Megyn, we should let the audience finish this analysis.
I love it when he brings the
Well, I don't think this is defamation. And frankly, Arthur, I don't see how it's slanderous to say we didn't have sex. If she was saying we didn't have good sex, that might be slander.
But if they did have, if she's lying about it, that's slander.
Isn't this guy reminiscent of the public defender and My Cousin Vinny?
Oh my God, I said that!
And if you keep showing My Cousin Vinny clips, I'm going to do my best Marissa Tomei impersonation. It's called disclosure, you dickhead. Not bad. Not bad.
Very good.
Oh, that is wonderful. Love it. Oh, my goodness.
They should knock you off of this, Marquis, and let her start with, they call this true crime in her.
I agree.
Jana.
Wow, that was phenomenal. A poopologist? What the hell is that? Anyway, all right, so we're going to talk some true crime. Okay, you ready to go, guys?
Ready.
I'm going to push back already. I don't know that Diddy is true crime, but let's go. Come on.
Okay, well, it's high profile. Let's talk Diddy, okay? As all of you likely know, on July 2nd, 2025, the jury came back. We were waiting to see whether the government can sell racketeering, typically reserved for the mob, right? And turn it into an Al Capone who's into lube. And that's what they tried to make him out to be. Didn't work. Sex trafficking went away. He was convicted on 2 counts of transportation to engage in prostitution. And they claimed that this violated the Mann Act, and the jury went along with it. Right out of the gate, I don't know that people know this, but Mark Geragos has a connection to the case. His daughter represented Diddy in this trial. And the first question I have for you, Mark, and this is of tremendous interest to me because my daughter revealed not too long ago that she too wants to follow my footsteps. She wants to go to law school. So it'll be Eiglarsh and Eiglarsh at some point, which sounds more like a sneeze. I want to know, when you got the verdict, I want to know what words you exchanged with her. Was it by text? Was it in person? And what did you say to your sweet offspring?
It was in person. I was there at the courthouse. There was a auxiliary place where we met. I gave her a hug. I may have had a tear in my eye. I've known Sean for over 15 years. I think I had told Megan yesterday when we were talking about this, I watched her give the opening in this case, and I sat in the courtroom, and all I could think of, speaking of Eyeglass and Eyeglass, is the name of my firm is Garrigus and Garrigus. My partner was my father, who was my kind of hero and mentor, and he practiced. In fact, he was sworn in as a prosecutor the same month I was conceived, and I thought about him and the idea that his mother, my grandmother, had him when she was 14, had run away from the Ottoman Turks chasing her around the desert and from a Turkish orphanage, somehow gave birth to my dad at 14. And here, one generation, two generations, three generations later, she's standing in a Southern District courtroom giving an opening statement in a case like this. It might have made me a little emotional.
What did you say to her? What were the words that you said to her? And that'll also give me insight on whether you thought that this was the right verdict, whether you were happy for her, or...
Well, I will tell you this. I don't know that I've told anybody this. I was with her the night before. The jury had come back, and the jury said they were hung on the RICO,
right,
which was count 1, and that they had reached verdicts on the other 4 counts. And there was, I'm not going to say it was her, but there were those in the defense camp who were very, very depressed. And at first, I kind of fell into that group until I read the note. When I read the note, a light bulb went off, because they said, we're hung.
Yeah.
We have unpersuadable, basically, jury.
So you knew where this was going.
I knew that at that point what was nobody is hanging on the RICO and finding guilt on the other 4 counts. So,
correct. So you were thrilled. I mean, bottom line, you're thrilled, number one, that your daughter did her very best, and you produced someone who just yesterday was in diapers, and now she's up there using big words and making you proud. But you're also thrilled about the outcome, correct?
Correct. I mean, look,
all right,
Sean,
Jonna, what was that?
I've known Sean for over a decade, and obviously her since I first swaddled her. So
got it. So Jonna, you followed the case. First of all, your thoughts. Did the jury get it right? Yes or no?
The jury did get it right. In some inside baseball, I followed Mark yesterday. We were both on Megan's show. And so I have a different take on Diddy, but I do think justice prevailed here. My opinion of Diddy, and I said it before, I'll say it again, is that Diddy is a dirtbag. I haven't known him for 15 years. I think he comes across as a terrible, horrible person. We saw things that we cannot unsee vis-a-vis this trial. However, it was never going to be a guilty on the RICO. It was overcharged from the beginning. And I do agree that Tenny Garagos did a fantastic job, because even with these 2 guilty verdicts on these smaller charges, that is an unmistakable win. Where I think this case is going off the rails is, personally, and don't send me hate mail, he should have been released on bail. That argument should have been successful, and it's not.
That's what I want to talk about. Why?
Right, that's
why?
a problem.
Tell me why. Make the argument. Couple sentences. You're standing there in front of the judge. Argue what? Not a danger to the community. Not a risk of flight. What are you arguing, Jonna?
Check, and more check. Look, this guy is going to walk very soon after sentencing, because the guidelines dictate that he is only likely to be sentenced to around 2 years. He's already been in there half of that time. With the good time credits, carry the 1, divide by 2, he's going to walk. So why not let him out on bail pending sentencing? The judge has an axe to grind, my opinion. And just sidebar, if you ever listen to Maureen Callahan on The Nerve, that's one of her favorite sayings. My opinion, he's got an axe to grind, and he's paying lip service to the law in order to do it. That's unfair to Diddy, as much as I don't like him.
Mark, she called him a dirtbag. Are you going to disagree?
I have said, and I'll say it again, Sean has achieved incredible things. Take a look at, it's a kid who was born in Harlem, made a billionaire out of himself, became a brand in both fashion and music and sports, everything else. He has tremendous successes. He is also, like a lot of people, had tremendous challenges with substance abuse. It's not an excuse for the violence, and clearly there is violence, but it's an explanation. And he's, as Jonah says, he's sat there for a year. By the way, the Mann Act has never, ever, I defy anybody to find a similarly situated person sitting in custody based on hiring prostitutes who you don't have sex with.
It's not, let me give you a pushback. It's not just that, right? Isn't the judge allowed to consider what we call the relevant conduct in federal court?
No,
he's not allowed to consider that for purposes of bond and for sentencing? No?
In this case, what he's found is he found that at the government's urging that the particular Mann Act violations are under the chapter of the code that has all of basically a catch-all that says all of these are violent. You can get out of that because there's a safety valve which says exceptional circumstances. He didn't find that. I say this is where we part company. The exceptional circumstances are there's never been anybody who hasn't had sex who's been charged with this crime for having somebody, males, crossing state lines to have sex with their girlfriend. That's just unheard of. And by the way, if you apply this statute to Pornhub, to OnlyFans, to the Burbank airport on a Friday afternoon when people are going to Vegas, you could criminalize this across the board.
I got you. John, do you disagree in that can't the judge consider the facts and circumstances surrounding the actual offense? In other words, if somebody brings a prostitute over for a party and the feds go after him, that's one thing. But if there's a lot more to consider, and boy, did we learn a lot during this trial, isn't the judge allowed to consider that when determining sentencing?
When determining sentencing, yeah. But what happened
and for bond.
A day or two ago,
though, right?
Where is Diddy going to go? In this day and age, you can put an ankle monitor on him, take his passport, take his planes. He's putting up a $50 million bond. Like, honestly, I have said this before too. This is one of two things in the judge's mind. Either the judge knows that he is going to be so constrained at sentencing that Diddy is going to walk very soon after the sentencing date because he has to, because of the guidelines and the good time credit. Or this judge really has an axe to grind and he is going to try to find a way to upwardly depart and really stick it to Diddy. And under the circumstances, put aside what we saw that we didn't want to see. When you just go by the letter of the law and the two charges that he was convicted of, this case does not call for an upward departure. If anything, at this point, maybe even a downward departure.
You said about you said 2 years, but Mark, aren't we hearing the prosecutor's alleging is somewhere in the 5-year area, 5-6 years? Who's right?
Say something. The prosecutors are sore losers. I mean, clearly they're sore losers.
They're upset.
The guidelines call for 21 to 27 months. There's no way any rational human is going to say there's 8 victims and the 8 victims were these escorts. The escorts are out there doing interviews everywhere saying, I wasn't an escort, I loved Cassie, or I'm writing a book, or Cassie was paying me, or blah, blah, blah. So, I mean, that is the way that they've tortured this. As far as the other conduct, Mark and John will, I think, back me up on this. There is a case called Apprendi. If you're going to say, I'm going to use facts, a jury heard all of this. If you wanted them to make findings about other conduct, then have the jury decide it. Don't act as a 13th juror and say, I'm going to revise this, because that's what the government is doing here. The government is basically saying, hey, judge, we disregard everything that we presented. By the way, we're going to redact. The judge wasn't buying this. They redacted yet some other garbage that they hadn't put into the trial in their letter to the judge because they wanted to just try and throw everything against the wall. You can't do that. He rolled the dice.
So quick question, both of you, because I want to move on to Maxwell soon. What do you predict? Quick answer. What do you predict the judge gives Diddy, Jana?
He's got to go with the guidelines. And then Diddy's going to walk shortly thereafter. Like I said, when you do jail math, he walks shortly thereafter.
Mark,
that's the only thing the judge can do.
What do you think?
Somewhere between 21 to 27 months. And I think he gets bail. I think he gets bail on appeal because he's got a hell of an argument that the conviction should be reversed.
If that's really the case, if he's really intending on going with the guidelines, and the guidelines are as low as you say, he should be out right now. He really should. That's a little insane.
Look,
5 years, 6 years. All right, there's some meat in the game. Maybe he's going to go a little higher. Put you $50 million he pledged. He had co-signers.
On the day the verdict came in, on the record, the then U.S. Attorney, Maureen Comey, now since fired, Maureen Comey argued that it was somewhere between 41 and 50 months. Jonna will tell you, even at 41 to 50 months,
it's so low.
Qualifies for First Step. He qualifies for RDAP, the programs. He's going to be out in less than a year anyway.
And halfway house on the back end.
Correct.
Plus he has a drug problem. Yeah, I mean, how much time is he really going to do, right? Exactly. Let me ask you this. All right, so let's say he's sentenced to whatever he's sentenced. And now the big talk of Trump. Trump could pardon him. This is federal court, baby. What are the chances of that, Jonna? Apparently Trump says he's half innocent. Now, I've had 3 kids, me and my wife, and she's never been half pregnant. So what does half innocent mean, Jonna? What does that mean?
Well, let me just say, I'm in Meghan's camp when it comes to this. I don't think Trump should even entertain a pardon for a couple of reasons. Number one, why? He's going to get out of prison. And I get, maybe Trump believes, I know a lot of people believe that he was wrongfully prosecuted from the get-go. Okay, that doesn't necessarily mean that he deserves a pardon. If he got some ridiculous sentence, then maybe Trump should revisit it. But as it is right now,
he shouldn't touch it, is what
Trump
you're saying.
More than it's going to help Diddy.
I want to play, I haven't heard this clip. I want to hear Trump saying half innocent. I don't know how he said that. It's SOT number 2. Let's listen to what Trump has to say.
Sean Diddy Combs.
Right.
Would you consider pardoning him?
Well, he was essentially, I guess, sort of half innocent.
Yes.
I don't know what they do. He's still in jail or something, but he was celebrating a victory, but he seems, I guess it wasn't as good as a victory. Probably, I was very friendly with him. I got along with him great. And seemed like a nice guy. I didn't know him well. But when I ran for office, he was very hostile.
He said some not so nice things about you, sir.
And it's hard, like you, we're human beings.
Right.
And we don't like to have things cloud our judgment, right? But when you knew someone and you were fine, and then you run for office and he made some terrible statements. So I don't know. It's more difficult. It makes it more. I'm being honest. It makes it more difficult to do.
But more likely a no for Combs.
I would say so.
Well, I've got a lot of clients who are half innocent. Mark, really quick, we're going to do. I guess we'll catch Maxwell in a little bit. But yes or no? Should Trump pardon him? Number 2, do you think he will?
I would only quibble with the half innocent because he was found not guilty on 4 out of 6. So so
he's off on his math.
3 out of 5. So do the math. But number 2, in the old days, I used to say a Democrat is a Republican who's been indicted. Now I got to say that a Republican is a Democrat who's been indicted. So I would push back on the president and say he ought to, at the very least, commute the sentence.
Okay. All right, we'll see what he does. All right. Up next, we're going to get into Maxwell. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Let's be honest. America can still be a dangerous place, and you cannot afford to wait for help. Sure, you could use a firearm, but in today's America, defending yourself with deadly force could have legal consequences. According to FBI data, 99.9% of all altercations do not require lethal force. And that's exactly why so many are turning to Byrna. Byrna is proudly American, hand-assembled in Fort Wayne, Indiana. These less lethal self-defense launchers are trusted by hundreds of government agencies, law enforcement departments, and private security companies. Over 600,000 Byrna pistols have been sold already, most to private citizens who just refuse to be victims. Byrna launchers fire rock-hard kinetic rounds and powerful tear gas and pepper projectiles capable of stopping a threat from up to 60 feet away. No background checks, no waiting periods, and Byrna can ship straight to your door. Take responsibility. Protect your future. Visit Byrna.com right now or your local Sportsman's Warehouse. That's BYRNA.com or your local Sportsman's Warehouse. Visit now and be prepared to defend.
All right, now time to talk Ghislaine Maxwell. She's probably very happy this week. They just moved her from the hell that she was in to a minimum security, what they call Club Fed. And we're all familiar with that because our clients, always hope to go to the Club Fed, maybe play a little pickleball, I don't know what they've got there these days. But apparently the other inmates ain't too happy with her. They don't want her there, Jonna. Why don't they want her there?
Well, listen, we're talking to fellow inmates who are so bored that they write motions on toilet paper and send them to the court. So I don't know why they don't want her there, but I know why Ghislaine doesn't want to be in any federal prison, even Club Fed. And I will say this, full disclosure, I am in a small minority who believes that Ghislaine Maxwell was a scapegoat. Ooh. And never should have been charged, let alone convicted. I know the hate mail will come, but I have to speak my truth.
Well, let's see. Does Garagos agree? Do you agree or disagree?
Don't just address it to Jonna. If you want to redirect it my way, I agree. She was. I'll tie it up with Diddy. It's not a coincidence that the same prosecutor and prosecution team is starting with, what's his name, Damian Williams, who was auditioning to be Attorney General under Kamala, was the one who indicted Jill and had Epstein and had the mayor and had the Sean Diddy Combs, and then had, what's her name, Maureen Comey prosecuting Ghislaine, then prosecuting Diddy. It was a distraction. It was a prosecution by proxy, to Jonna's point that she didn't say, but I think I anticipate. She was prosecuted because Epstein was dead.
Yep. Well, wait, so she was framed like the Mona Lisa? She did nothing to facilitate his evil acts? Come on, people. Come on.
But by the way, the idea that somehow she was the one who was criminally responsible for what he was doing, I think is a stretch.
Can't they both be? I mean, the getaway driver, the bank robbery.
They could be, but remember, if there's two reasonable interpretations, you must adopt the one that points towards innocence.
So these people at the jail, she was moved to Bryan, Texas, and, the Bureau of Prisons being hushed. They don't say anything about why she was moved to this country club. You guys have any thought process? I could tell you this, that the people there are saying that this is supposed to house non-violent offenders, somebody said, and human trafficking is a violent offense, somebody said. What are your thoughts, Jonna?
Oh, okay. So where do I start? Look, I know what she was convicted of, but from the get-go, if you really want to analyze the timeline of the entire two decades of this story, of the Epstein-Ghislaine Maxwell story, you will see that something smells bad. Starting with the fact that if Ghislaine's the accomplice to you, because sidebar, I firmly believe that somebody can know where bodies are buried without having helped bury them. And that's the position that I think she's in. So why did they not arrest her back in 2004 or 5 when Jeffrey Epstein got his so-called sweetheart deal? Because they knew of her then, but what people don't realize is that her relationship with Epstein had ended in 1999. Like, she had no relationship with him from that point forward. So they don't arrest her then. Fast forward, Epstein gets arrested. He later drops dead. And then she's arrested. Why wasn't she arrested when he was first arrested for the second time? I mean, there are things here that don't make sense. And it's a little bit of a shell game by the SDNY, which they've done before. We've seen that happen before. So I think if somebody really digs in to the behind the scenes of the prosecution, they're going to smell something as bad as I'm smelling with them as well.
Okay, Mark, what we all want really, I think, is to punish those who harm children, okay? So if there were others with Epstein, we want to know about it. Not people who flew on his plane and hung out with him. That's unfair. Those people like Dershowitz and others are really getting their name soiled as a result of their association with this high-profile guy. But those who harm children, we want to know about it. Are we going to find out through this woman, Maxwell, ever?
No, I don't think you are. I mean, look, what they have said, and I have no even reasonable suspicion to believe that she knows or has any information about the crimes now or that were happening later on. Jonna hit it right on the head. She wasn't involved during the relevant time periods, number one. Number two, she spent 2 days with Todd Blanche, kind of debriefing. And I assume, did that. It's been reported, and I'm going to guess that it was under what's called a queen for a day, and which means that she had limited immunity. She would have revealed everything that she knew, and if she didn't, there are consequences. And if that's the case, the DOJ knows it. And so if there is something there, you think they're going to turn a blind eye to it? I don't buy that.
So we have these congressional hearings going on now, potentially. Jonna, are we going to learn anything there? Or like I said on Megan's show, is this just going to be like, when Geraldo had us all gripped to the TV to see what was in Al Capone's vault and then nothing? I'm still resentful. Are we going to get any names, real names of perpetrators here?
Well, first of all, I think the congressional hearings are going to be postponed because Ghislaine does have a petition awaiting to be heard by the Supreme Court of the United States.
Can you explain that to the viewers? Explain what that's about. Because if she wins, right, she potentially has her conviction go bye-bye. Do you want to explain what she's arguing?
If they hear it. So Ghislaine has had a number of appeals, as anybody does when you lose a criminal case, and she is now a petition pending before the Supreme Court. I don't know if the Supreme Court has said they are going to actually entertain it yet.
I don't think they're going to.
We won't know that until...
I don't think they've ruled yet.
Yeah, I don't think they have.
I can't imagine this has the broad appeal. But explain to the viewers the issue that might set her free if the Supremes take the case and if they, return a verdict in her favor.
Her issue at its core is she did not receive a fair trial. And one of the contentions that she has been trying to hammer home this entire time is that the government has been hiding exculpatory evidence. That's what we call a Brady violation in most circles. And that is such a big violation that a government can commit that sometimes the only proper remedy is to get rid of the case. So that's one of the things that she is contending. But behind the scenes, let's go behind the curtain a little bit. When you talk about the list and the Al Capone's vault and blah, blah, if there were any harmful information, she was prosecuted under Biden's DOJ. If there's any information harmful to, say, Donald Trump, which we know that the lawfare and everybody went after him for 4 years, we would have known about it. Why do we know nothing? Can one surmise that perhaps there is some harmful information to a Democrat, the Democrats, certain Democrats that they want hushed up? And what better way to hush up a person than prosecute him, lock him up, and throw away the key? Okay. Just my opinion. Again, a little nod to Maureen.
So Mark, she's arguing that Epstein entered into a deal with prosecutors that any other co-conspirators, named 4, but clearly in that agreement, it appears that it covered others potentially, and she would be an other. She wasn't named, and I think that hurts her argument, but that they wouldn't be prosecuted. The issue with the Supreme Court is that she's arguing that bound all prosecutors in all jurisdictions, not just in the Southern District or a particular jurisdiction. Will the Supreme Court hear that issue? Do you think it's big enough to warrant them taking this on their docket?
So this has been an issue that I've fought for close to 40 years. This idea that each district is their own little fiefdom, and that, sorry, we're going to prosecute you for crimes that can happen anywhere in the U.S., but if you get convicted or if you cut a deal, that our only authority is in our district. I think that's a big enough issue if they take it on that specific issue. I remember having that in New York a couple of years ago, specifically where I wanted in the Eastern District to get coverage under the plea agreement in the Northern, and I had to jump through unbelievable hoops to get that done. So it is a problem. It occurs every single day, and it should be something the U.S. Supreme Court decides.
But you don't think that they will pick this up?
Look, the problem with SCOTUS and granting review is it's about like hitting the lottery, and
right.
You can't ever say, hey, it's likely. And there are people who make a living out of prognosticating what cases are going to get taken.
All right. So moving to our next topic, I ask both of you, yes or no, do you follow TikTok? You like TikTok, do you, Jana?
I recently got on the TikTok, so
Okay.
I'm not a big TikToker yet.
Garagos, you strike me as someone who doesn't really spend his time watching TikTok videos, but who knows? I don't know.
I'm not a big TikTok guy. So
well, apparently, if you watch TikTok, you might have been familiar with a lot of these dances and stuff. And who knew that there was a guy running a cult, and he would have people dance, and he'd make money allegedly. And a sex trafficking warrant was served at an LA home owned by this alleged TikTok cult pastor. Apparently, we're going to be covering this topic in the upcoming months. On Friday, July 25th, agents from the Postal Service, IRS, Department of Labor, all served a warrant at about 6 a.m. And there was an extensive search. As you can see from the video, there were people who were detained. They're looking into allegations of sex trafficking, money laundering, tax evasion, COVID-19 pandemic related fraud. This was a big scenario. And my first question to you, Jana, any chance that the feds just go away and we don't see any indictments at all? What do you think?
No. Full disclosure, I know that there's a docuseries about this case. I haven't seen the docuseries, but I will say this. If this man portends to be a man of the cloth, the only cloth that he should be wearing is an orange jumpsuit. If any of these allegations are true, come on, how can you be a quote unquote church leader worth millions and millions and millions of dollars, bilking people out of millions and millions of dollars?
Let me just interrupt. That's Robert Shin.
Yes.
He's the pastor of the Shekinah Church, and he was detained. No charges yet. Innocent until proven guilty. Continue, Jana. And again, I think he's about 15 million, this pastor?
Yeah, he's worth about 15 million. When all these agencies descend on your property with search warrants, it's not going to end in your favor. I guarantee you that. So can we expect charges? You betcha.
All right. So the Netflix documentary was Dancing for the Devil, which I saw. Did you guys catch that?
I didn't see that, but I read there was an article recently, LA Mag, Michelle McVie, I think, wrote it, which was fascinating, which, to Jana's point, made me want to go watch the docuseries, actually.
Yeah. A lot of people were harmed. There's one former church member. It's SOT number 4. Let's hear from that church member and get her thoughts.
I want to talk about the raid that happened this morning. Robert and his cult, the 7M TikTok cult or whatever cult that he goes by today, they're officially under investigation, federal investigation. But this is great news. This has been a long time coming. I think justice will finally be served. We're really excited to see how this pans out. We also want to thank the government agencies for finally taking steps and investigating this evil man. This is the beginning of a healing journey for a lot of us.
Yeah, he started this church in 1994, primarily served as a house of worship, primarily for Koreans. And then apparently he opened up his doors. He was the owner of 7M Management Company. And that's where, he was managing these TikTok dancers. They were working crazy hours for him, allegedly. Again, I watched the documentary. If that's accurate, this guy wasn't a nice fella. My question to you, Mark, is we're seeing more and more Netflix influencing the prosecution, or in the case of your Menendez brothers, helping out some defendants. What are your thoughts on the role that Netflix and other of these documentaries play in the criminal justice arena?
So it's a fascinating question because if you remember, years ago. Making a Murderer was one of the first.
Loved it.
Got some traction.
Excellent show. Yeah.
And Serial got some traction. And, before there was the Menendez Netflix show, we were getting some traction legally, but obviously it took it to a whole new level. I have quoted Leslie Abramson, who tried the Menendez brothers cases, trials 1 and 2. And Leslie was quoted about 6 or maybe 10 years ago saying, no amount of TikTokers is ever going to free the brothers. And I think after they got resentenced and the life without was dropped, I left her a message. I haven't talked to her yet, and said, it's a different era, Leslie. And it's true. I mean, you'd be naive to think that public perception and public kind of sunlight or transparency doesn't have an effect.
As an aside, this might just be a personal question. I've been daydreaming about this. What does life look like for them? Do they give speeches? Do they go work at a car wash? What do they do for a living when they get out?
Look, both of them have done enormously good work. Both have graduated. I attended Lyle's graduation from UC Irvine, that program. Lyle is doing this green space work, which is transitional for inmates. Eric has started a hospice program.
So they're not going to have a problem finding work.
No problem whatsoever. I mean, they've started really, really effective and life-changing programs while in there.
Okay, great. So we're going to talk next. Gary Busey. He pled guilty to something. We're going to talk about that and also everything you want to know about the Donna Adelson trial. We're going to tee that up. We'll be back in just a moment. Stick around.
That cookie calling your name at 3 p.m. Yeah. The midnight fridge raids, the extra slice of pizza you swore you wouldn't eat. If you feel like your cravings control you, it is not just willpower. It could be your gut crying for help. That's why I want to tell you about Just Thrive Probiotic and their digestive bitters. See, modern diets often lack essential bitters compounds that manage appetite hormones like GLP-1, the same hormone in those expensive weight management shots. Just Thrive's digestive bitters give you the power of 12 clinically proven herbs that help your body break down food efficiently while naturally supporting GLP-1 production. Controlled cravings, less bloat, steady energy, and comfortable digestion. Try Just Thrive Digestive Bitters and Just Thrive Probiotic 2 today at justthrivehealth.com and use code Megan for 20% off your first order. That's justthrivehealth.com, code Megan. Your body will thank you.
All right, so we're back, and during the break, Mark Garagos confided in us something, and I said, you got to tell us all. This is the first episode ever, Mark Garagos, so I don't care if you want to tell us. You had some scoop on the Menendezes. You got some text. Out with it right now, Garagos and Garagos. Let's go.
I'm now going to give you a lesson on confidentiality.
I don't care. This is ratings, baby.
Jonna, would you please send over the joint defense agreement on this?
It'll be between us. Yes. Come on,
DocuSigned.
I will just say I got a text, and I'm not worried about their future. I'll leave it at that.
No, you're not going to leave it at that. What does that mean?
By the way,
the lottery.
By the way, would you fill me in about Donna Adelson? I've been wondering about that case.
Oh my goodness!
Nice.
You're going to
segue.
tell us after what you didn't tell us here. Anyway, next episode, everybody tune in, and Garagos will tell you. All right, so Adelson. Okay, it's been 11 years since Dan Markel was murdered. This is the law professor from Florida State University. Bitter custody battle, 2014, murder for hire. There have been a number of people already convicted, including Charlie Adelson, the son of Donna, who is the matriarch of the family. And she's got a trial coming up. August 8th is the pretrial hearing, and it's supposed to start August 19th with jury selection, okay? I want to kick this issue around with you guys because it came up in the OJ case when he was fleeing and whether that should come in, because when somebody flees or attempts to flee, it shows consciousness of guilt. Prosecutors always argue. In this case, I want to show first what we're talking about. We've got Donna Adelson at the airport. She was arrested with her husband. They bought a one-way ticket. There it is, a one-way ticket to Vietnam. Vietnam. Okay, folks? What's significant about Vietnam, Jonna? You're about to tell us? Yeah? issues with extradition, right?
Right. So they have no extradition treaty with the United States. But let me just say something. If this prosecutor wants to win this case,
yes,
all they need to do is put some women about my age who know a little bit about luxury and who know a little bit about how to treat themselves. Because if I want to go and get some R&R, the last place I'm thinking about is Vietnam. I'm going to go somewhere where I can put my toes in the sand, drink my margaritas, get my nails done. It doesn't sound like Vietnam to me. So that is a lie.
Yeah. Well, really? And the one-way ticket, what does that do for you? Yeah. I mean, there was an argument. She said, wait, did you hear this argument, Mark? Apparently, she knew that at some point they may want her to surrender, so they were then going to buy a ticket back when that time came. They weren't fleeing to Vietnam. First, are you buying it, Mark? And secondly, do you think this goes to consciousness of guilt and they should let it into evidence in her trial?
Well, look, I'm not so sure. Mind you, Diddy flew to New York in expectation without the prosecutor saying that he was going to be arrested. And that didn't help him when it came to bail. And by the way, if you go to Vietnam when you haven't been charged yet, thinking that you're going to be charged and you're going to be able to negotiate the terms of your surrender, there's nothing illegal about that. If she went knowing and that she had a warrant out for her, then you got a hell of an argument. But if she went thinking, hey, you know, all the suspicions on me, I didn't do anything, I'm going to negotiate the terms of my surrender, that's not consciousness of guilt. That's
Mark, I'm only smiling because I don't know that I've ever, in the years that I've watched you, take a prosecution role. So I'm going to ask you to make the, no, stop it. You're going to do it or you're going to reveal that Menendez text, either one. But I think this is safer for you. Please take on the role of the prosecutor and tell us why, what you would argue as the prosecutor, as to why this should come in and why it's consciousness of guilt.
Well, I can hear the prosecutor making the argument. I mean, it's easy for me to channel what I've heard 1,000 times. Oh, they knew. Oh, they're going to Vietnam. Oh, they've got no extradition treaty. Oh my God, we were closing in on her. There was a subpoena of her bank accounts, and she knew all hell was going to break loose. Blah blah blah. The problem is,
you can't do it with a straight face. You're so
I can't
funny.
do it with a straight
You're
face.
mocking. You cannot.
It's usually a government lawyer. You're missing all of the dots, and I can't buy into it.
All right. So what are the strongest parts of this case for the government, Jana? What are the challenges the defense faces? What do you think?
I think all of the communication between her and her son, who was dutifully convicted, along with his co-conspirators. I think the fact that you have this is an old case, relatively speaking, right? You've got the whole incentive argument, not that that's an element of everything, but why did this happen? This happened because the one person who has not been charged, ladies and gentlemen, who how she's escaping that is beyond me, is Wendy, who is the mother of the children after the divorce from Markle, the victim. She wanted to move her kids far away, like I think down to your neck of the woods in Florida, Mark. And the husband said, Dan Markle said, no, not so fast. You're not going to do it. And then at that point, the family, the uncle, the grandmother hatched this plan allegedly to get rid of Dan Markle so that the kids can move to Southern Florida. Now, how Wendy's not directly a part of any of these conversations,
I'm wondering too.
You got
She's
me.
good. She's good.
I guess so. But the grandmother was involved in this inextricably.
I was just going to ask Jana if she heard this rumor that Donna had been offered a deal to roll.
I just heard that.
Yeah.
Someone came out today, no idea if it's true. I mean, who knows? I might be repeating.
To roll on Wendy? On her daughter?
Yes, that they would give her full immunity, which I doubt, but full immunity, just testify against Wendy, and apparently she turned it down. No idea if that's garbage, and I might now be, passing around
trafficking and conspiracy.
I think I heard it on TikTok, so who knows how valuable that is.
Right? With dancing, yes, I know.
So let's talk about Gary Busey, as much as you don't want to, Mark.
I said I'll go back and revisit the text of Lyle and Eric before I want to talk about
But this is big news.
Let me just tell you something about Gary Busey. Gary Busey at one time, I thought was just the what would be an expression? A-list, cat's meow.
At some point, he did some good work.
Was he?
Yeah, did great work. I mean,
Yeah.
no matter what you say about him, great work. And I hate trafficking in watching this at this point.
Okay, well, the facts
I'm
are,
gonna let
and
John-
this is why
I'm
we're
gonna let
here.
John to talk about this.
Well, some people have to talk about it. Apparently, he pled guilty to a fourth-degree criminal sexual contact stemming from an incident at a horror convention in New Jersey in 2022. Let's go to SOT 7. Apparently, he had some problems in court, which is no surprise to anybody. Let's listen to that clip.
As part of the plea agreement.
Okay. Counsel, those terms as stated, Mr. Zwillman, is that correct? Now, Mr. Boosie, we're in a courtroom, although we are Zoom. You can't eat or drink in my courtroom, although we are on Zoom. You're before a judge. And when you're before a judge, you act accordingly. No eating and no drinking in my presence. You understand, sir?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Judge.
Yeah, Garagos, I'm sure your clients never do that, right?
I do it myself. How many judges? I'm old enough to remember when there was Judge Fitz in Santa Monica who had a refrigerator and he would pop beers underneath his while sitting on the bench and smoke cigarettes. So I don't the no eating, no drinking. I'm not buying.
All right. Well, he was apparently wishy-washy on whether he touched a woman's butt. Apparently, let's go to SOT 8. See what he has to say.
Touching of the buttocks was done for your gratification.
No, I was looking, my eyes were on the camera lens. I moved my hands up and grazed her buttocks without thinking and without looking.
That's not a factual basis. That's not a guilty plea.
What?
Mr. Boosie, I've advised you, and we agreed earlier that in order to plead guilty, you have to truthfully acknowledge.
I truthfully acknowledge
that you did this for your own gratification as opposed to any request by AD. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Judge.
So this was not an accidental touching. You purposely touched her. Is that correct, sir?
Yeah.
Okay, and you did it for your own self-gratification. Is that correct, sir?
Yes.
Oh my. Yeah, we never run into those challenges with our clients, getting them to say they did it. Anyway, guys, you've been wonderful. This has been great. I've loved spending time with you. Our first ever Megyn Kelly True Crime Podcast. Mark Garagos, Jonna Spielberg, thank you so much. Thank you for being here. I really appreciate it.
This is a great time.
All right.
Thanks,
And remember to like and subscribe on YouTube. We are growing this podcast. We're going to be back in different forms. We'll add Arthur. We're going to add other folks. It's going to be great. We are on all the social media platforms, and it's everything that you need to follow us. Just hit those buttons. We'll see you Friday. I hope you all choose to have a wonderful day. Take care.